Well, thanks, Matt. And thank you all for inviting me to this. I'm not used to talking to adults. Okay. Bigger kids, maybe? I don't know. Some of them are pretty big too. But as Matt said, my name is Larry Woolf. And I'm from Browning. I'm born and raised on the Blackfeet Reservation. I'm a rural member. I grew up. It was easy, like it probably is in a lot of rural communities. We did my cousin brother, because my mom was raising my cousin who were the same age, and his name is Marty, and I actually have a biological brother named Marty too, so it's even weirder. But we would take off and hitchhike out of town, fish a creeks in, spend the whole day fishing, or we take our 22s. They were just little single shot, little rifles, and we'd go out. And Bob Schreiber, I don't know if you heard of him. It's kind of, yeah. Well, he had a museum. He has had a museum in town, and he also had a golden eagle and some big old owl. We didn't get to see him on class field trips. We'd be able to go look at the birds and stuff, but we'd be able to go, and you could hunt gophers and bring him a gopher, and he'd give you a nickel a piece for that gopher. Which, 10 gophers is a box of 22 shells, and then you can go do it again. And that's when they had, you could go buy a bar candy or a penny candy, and bar candies were the candy bar, but penny candies were a penny. So there was all, or go around and we collect bottles and go sell them and get some. But or we'd go catch horses and ride them to the creek and go swim in and stuff like that. That's how I grew up. And we knew about growing up. I think in any small community, you learn about death because it's around you. And then you get older, and your circle gets bigger. And so it's not just people passing away, it becomes more meaningful to you because those people are now relatives of some of the people that are right in your circle. So as I got older and it gets bigger and bigger, the things that happen in the community tend to affect you too. It might not be directly, but in an indirect manner, it's part of you too. So you end up almost in a constant state of mourning. It's just one thing after another and stuff. So that's kind of life in rural Montana. But I left Browning after I graduated from high school, moved to Bozeman, Montana. Why I went to Bozeman? My buddy wanted to go to Missoula. I wanted to go to Billings. Let's go in the middle, I went to Bozeman. We went to Haskell. So, but I really liked it there. I learned so much. I was there for 2 years after I graduated, and I learned so much, not so much in the classroom, but I learned an awful lot down in Bozeman those 2 years. And I also learned that I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be as a college student, so I moved home. And about 8 years later, close to that, I was applying to the Montana Indian Teacher Training Program and through the College of Great Falls. And I got my degree there. It was a great program. I really enjoyed it. I did 4 years and 3. got my bachelor's degree there, and I was certified in mathematics and special education. I applied at two places to work. I worked back home in Browning and in Great Falls. And the day that I signed my contract in Browning, I was offered a job teaching math at Great Falls High. So I'm like, things must happen for a reason. You know? So moved home, was there, met my wife. She's Yakima, but that's a different story altogether. I met her at a bowling tournament or a bowling banquet. So, but we were there. I worked at Browning Middle School for 8 years. Or how long was it? I'm looking at Taylor. I think I helped her. And I taught special ed for 3 years, and I taught 6th grade math and 7th grade math. During that time, I got my master's in adult community and higher ed. And then I started taking some classes in guidance and counseling, and got in 1999, I moved to Browning High School as a freshman advisor, and then later was a counselor there until I retired in 2014. I really enjoyed working with kids. I didn't enjoy working with all the adults that I had. But 2014 was tough. In January of 2014, we lost my mom, and it was just getting a lot. There was a lot going on. So I graduated with that class, as I call it, and they were also a great bunch. They were part of our AVID group, Advancement via Individual Determination, and a great program that we were doing in Browning to get students to look beyond high school. And I was with them, with that group for the 4 years with that, and I'm like, if I'm going to leave, I've got to do this, because there's always going to be another class that they're going to say, just wait, graduate, or leave when we do. And so I was happily retired. Well, not really happily, but I was learning to be retired, because it's a process. And a year went by, a little after that, and then the very beginning of 2016, there were two things that happened. First of all, a person who has known me all my life, since I was born, Emily Sellaway, and I don't know if any of you know her, but she's very important to me. And she called me up and said, "Oh, how are you doing? I was just wondering, I wanted you to know I put your name out there. I recommended you for this opportunity. It's an opportunity, Larry." And I said, "What did you do?" She said, "Well, there's this new program. It's really good, and I know you're really gonna like it. I put your name in for it." And so, and I could never tell Emily no for anything. She's just one of those ladies that she's always had my heart. And so I applied for YAM, and I already had half my application done before I knew I had applied, but I was there, and I was accepted, and I went through their questions, and they were Matt Byerly. Dr. Matt Byerly was the guy getting it going in Montana at that time, and he said, "We'd love to have you." And I said, "Okay." I said, I'll try it. Yeah, I'll check it out. And one other thing happened was about the end of January. One of my former students who I just he was very special also, and I watched him grow up to be a outwardly really a fantastic guy. He looked like he had everything together and stuff. But for me, because he was also one of the students that I worked with regularly in my job, I knew he had a lot going on. He was raised by his grandparents. He came from a family with a lot of alcoholism. He had drinking problems. He had problems with other drugs. He had a lot of things going on. And he also had my home phone, my cell phone, even my wife's cell phone, because I was worried about it. And he was dealing with those kind of things. And right toward the end of January, found out that he had killed himself by suicide. So I started doing YAM because I was tired of burying our kids. Sorry. So, what is YAM? Before we get in on my little journey, I thought I don't know how much you know about YAM, other than apparently it's one of the 5 best things available out there right now. YAM stands for Youth Aware Mental Health. There's no age. It has something to do with the real YAMs, but I don't know if I've heard the story or I've actually, or if I remember it or what, but the SPUD is involved, okay? And they wanted to make that acronym work. It was developed by Vladimir Carlisle and Camilla Wasserman. And actually it was written by Camilla's mother, which I found out this summer, and that'll be a different story. But Camilla she's big into anthropology and stuff, and she was very instrumental in getting this off the ground, all right? It's a program that was started in Sweden, and Vladimir, ironically, is Italian, but he's married to a Sweden woman, so they met up in there, and Vladimir is a researcher. They got the program going, they delivered it there, and then they did a Seeley study. It was going, they did the study in 10 different countries, 10 different European countries, and almost 12,000 students. And it was a random control study. They used the YAM and QPR, and another factor of it was the people going in and professionals and doing surveys with the students to see if they had any behavior issues or any mental health. And the other was a control group. And based off of that study, they called it the Seeley study, saving and empowering youth lives in Europe. All right. So they did the Seeley study, and it was very effective. It was effective in reducing suicide. It was effective in help-seeking behaviors. It was down the line. It was good. And they came back a year later and did the results. They published it. Matt Byerly heard about it, when he was in Texas, and I believe he was at UT Southeastern, Western, one of them. And so, yeah, UT Southwestern. And so he's in Bozeman. His goal was to make Montana be kind of the hub of the United States and get it developed throughout. All right. One of the places that he was targeting were well, we got Helena in there, Browning, the Blackfoot Reservation. We trained 16 people that first session to be facilitators to go out and deliver the program throughout the state. And of those 16, there were 13 from Montana and 3 from Texas. We all got trained, delivered it. That first year, we did, in Browning, we did the 10th grade. Oh, no, I'm regressing. But we did the program in Browning, and I'll talk about that later, but that's why I always change these things. So that's the beginning of YAM. YAM is 5 days. Sorry guys, I gotta go back, otherwise I'm gonna. YAM is five class periods. All right, they can be but you can only do 2 hours per week. All right. So in Browning, we do them Tuesday and Wednesday, usually. And at Helena High, we did them, I think it was Tuesday and Thursday, or a day in between. And different places, different times. But you do it like Tuesday, Wednesday, Tuesday, done. Okay? Your first session is just a complete introductory thing. You go in and you just talk about what is mental health, what is depression, what is stress, what is a crisis, what is, and so forth. Basic stuff. And actually, the students, because of everything that's been going on, they know a lot of that already. So, second day you go in and we do dilemmas. And it's where they're given some situations. They start asking themselves, how do you feel about this? What are you going to do? Well, what's going to happen if you do that? To try and get them to start thinking about some decision-making topics, all right? Or just giving them that opportunity to decide some stuff on their own. Just start thinking for themselves. The third day, they do some role plays all centered around stress. We do brainstorming about stress. What is stress? What causes you stress? What's it look like? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it this? Is it that? And they role play it out. All right. And the fourth day, they talk about suicide and getting help. And those are the only ones that are not kid generated. They're not generated from the students. Okay, they are acting out situations to where we can emphasize the help-seeking behavior with them, because otherwise they would be bringing in too much of their own selves, and everything that we do in the classroom is based on what if, or what would happen if a person did this, or what would happen if. We're never going to use their name. In the role plays, we never use a name we try to keep them all gender neutral. We try to keep them all, definitely not anyone who has a name in the class kind of a thing and stuff like that, so that they don't know about it, or so where they can identify it. And then the last day is just a review, and it's a awesome time I forgot one important part of the program. They are the materials that are involved with it. We have 6 different posters that stay up in the room all while the YAM is going on, so they're up there for the 3 weeks. They're also given a booklet, a little booklet that basically tells all the information in a condensed manner and not as playful manner. But in the back of the booklet and in one of the posters, there's a list of resources, national, state, and local resources that students can turn to. And the local resources include the schools. At home, we have the Southern Pagan Clinic, also with the schools, with IHS, with Boys and Girls Clubs or Kiwanis clubs, or any outside activities that work with kids so that they can find places where they can go on. Okay, so those are all on there. Personally, we try not to use a lot of names with them, but as long as the number's there and they can call in or they can look it up online, they're so good with it, with the technology. I go in classrooms and somebody hooked me up. Somebody, they're awesome. So, and then, what was the last thing? Studies with YAM, we haven't been able to do a lot with the YAM, with getting the studies out there. We're working on a survey now, starting it up. The problem with surveys is, first of all, you need parental consent for the kids to do the survey. In order for them to even put the consent forms out, you have to have IRB approval, and with us, it's not just the MSU approval, but because we're on a reservation, I need my Blackfoot Community College IRB, and I need one from the Tribal Leader Council's IRB, because we're doing it in more than just one reservation, blah, blah, blah. But surveys are out now. They get a lot back, but I got some, so we're going to get those. The information that we have been able to get included that we found that YAM was sustainable, feasible, and acceptable. We found an increase in help-seeking from the help-seeking behaviors from the 2017 to the 2019 school year, and I know that for a fact that during that time on the reservation, within the surveys, we had 100% increase in help-seeking behaviors after YAM. So I know that because I found that out, and that we found a significant increase in sharing feelings, collaborative problem solving, for sure. So those are the small things that we have. We have no concrete data on anything else at this time, but we have things going. YAM has been given in at least 33 communities in Montana, and those were from either the initial group, the MSU group, and I guess we're kind of part of that, our original guys, or it could, or from the extension group, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here now. So, as I said, there were 13 of us initially trained in YAM from Montana, 3 from Texas. So our first year doing YAM, I was lucky, and I didn't know he was going, but Tom Shaw, he also lives in Browning. He's married to a girl from there. He grew up in Harlem. Then he married a girl from town, and he was also accepted to become a facilitator. And I didn't know until I got to Bozeman, and there he was. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could row to the. So anyway, we got down, we got home, and the first year we English classes to all the 10th graders, and in the health classes to all the freshmen. Okay, because remember, YAM is for 14 to 16 years old, so that's what it was designed for. So, got through the first semester. I think there were 6 English classes and 4 health classes. Oh my God, this is a lot more work than I thought. I was retired. I wasn't looking for a job. So we were going there, and next semester, only 4 classes, but they needed some help in Helena. So I would teach a class at Browning, talk in my car, drive 3 hours, go to Helena, teach a couple classes, come home, get ready for my next class on the next day, blah, blah. So it was fun because it was second semester and it was the middle of the winter, and there was snow up like this. And I had my wife's little Subaru, and I'm like, let's go. And I didn't one time. I had to have somebody else fill in for me down there. And it was a great experience. It was really interesting because, first of all, I was one of those guys that when you're in the YAM training and they talk about role plays, I'm like, they're not gonna do role plays. I know these kids, they're not gonna. I was digging my heels in the whole time. And we had the 4 trainers, all of them from Europe, 3 from Sweden and 1 from Italy. They were trying to convince me, and I was like, no way, you don't know, it's different. They all did it. Not only did they do it, man, they were looking for props. They were, oh no, wait, go outside and knock on the door. Yeah. I had one group of boys that come and come on, you're coming with us. We're going to school, and we picked him up and carried him out the door, kind of a thing. We're in the middle of the road. I was totally surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. But that was just one thing that happened during the first year. Halfway through the second year, things were going good, and then we were having a training, and myself, Tom Shaw, and Kathy from Helena, and Jenny from Missoula, and we were supposed to have one other one from Grove there, but she had a death in the family and couldn't come. And then we had 3 people from Texas come up, and they trained us as trainers so that we could start training people, because we were already growing more. And UT Southwestern is a research university, and they were only doing YAM in the Dallas region, and they were running out of people because they were getting through kids and getting their data and getting the information, and so we need to be able to train more people. So we were among the first 7 people. First of all, we were part of 16 people in the United States that were facilitators, and then we were the first 7 people in the United States, and 4 of them right from Montana, and 2 from Blackfeet Reservation. So in the whole United States. So we kept going, and every class is different because the program is built on them, what's going on with them. It's been a big step for me doing this. It's become kind of my hard work now, more so than anything else. But so we just started, actually I taught classes Monday and Tuesday in Browning and Heartview. And I only have one class in Browning this semester, and then we have a block schedule in Heartview, so I only have to go up. I only have to drive out there one day a week rather than two, so that's kind of cool. Great group of kids. They're always great. That's one thing about the kids, that they'll take the stuff as much as you give it. One of the biggest challenges that I think getting started is just the community buy-in. We were really lucky that we were able to partner with the extension program, because we have extension agents all over the state that are teaching YAM in different towns. We have tribal extension agents, and we have the regular state extension agents, and they have been a godsend for us. We're able to get into places that they have already made the contact. They've already done most of the legwork, and it's a win-win, because they're supposed to be making those kind of contacts within their communities. So it works. It's very, very helpful. And for us, we have a Glacier County Extension agent, but we also have the Blackfeet Reservation Extension agents. And reservation ones are doing too much ag, and they're like, you're already taking care of it. You just keep doing it, because we got cows to take care of, or we got sheep, or we got, and my niece is one of them, so I would. And but on the Flathead Reservation, we have people there. We have YAM in Browning and Helena and Chester, and we've got an extension agent from Rocky Boy coming up Tuesday to watch Tom and I, because she's nervous. And I'm like, well, you'll be fine. That's the same thing he said to me. It didn't make me any less nervous. And we have them in Havre, and we're getting back in Butte, and we had them in Bozeman, we've had them in Great Falls, but it's the one thing that we're missing in all of those things is the community buy-in. And by community buy-in, I mean not just the school or the school board or whatever with that, because you do need that, but also it really helps. One of the things that I think has helped make our program successful on the Blackfeet Reservation is we kind of partnered with the tribal health program, and they have a lot of different grant opportunities. A couple of years ago, I worked with DJ LaFramboy. He was one of our assistants, and now he's at the state level. So I lost my assistant, but good for him. But I lost my assistant, and with him there was Carrie, her spotted bear. She was working with a domestic violence program. You know what? If you can teach kids to have positive mental health, it's going to help the domestic violence programs. If they have good mental health, you can probably do stuff with meth cessation. If you have good mental health, it can take care of so many things. Everything that's out there is doable within the mental health umbrella. So they are coming in. I'm training them as assistants. Right now I have one assistant from Communities at Care program. It's another program, and one from Honor Your Life. And there are two grant programs, but part of their mission is to get into schools. And so by them coming in with us, it's a win for them. It's a win for us. We get the manpower, and it becomes part of their job. I don't have to pay them, and because I don't even know how I get paid. So, And it's good for them because they get to count their time with when they're up doing YAM as as a I can't remember what it is, but it's a win-win. And with extension agent, with them going in, it's a win-win. If we can get more of the things that are already out there to be involved with getting YAM there, it's a win-win. And one who wins the most, I think, are the students that are there. We have had interest in Kalispell, I believe, and like I said, interest back in Butte again. And I should have checked on that before I got here, but I was worried about everything else. So we can find out for you if you want. All right? Yes, sir.
Larry, can you tell them where all you've trained? I just think that's amazing.
All right. So we were the first, there were 7 of us trained in the United States, right? The very first ones. There was myself and Kathy and Tom and Jenny in Montana. And we had Jenny, another Jenny, and Louise and Amanda from Texas. And that fall, or actually that winter, after we became trainers, we got a thing from him. Would you be able to do a training with us from Sweden? Would you be able to do a training for us in Sydney? And I'm like, Sydney, Montana? But so we left for Sydney, Australia, the end of November, which, and it was like 20 below here, and went down to Sydney, where it was summertime. It was really weird packing trunks for in the middle of winter to go catch a plane, but it was awesome, except for the plane ride. I've never been in a plane that long, so new thing for me. But we trained in Sydney. It was amazing. The people down there were feeling the same way that we were up here. They were having difficulties, and they found the program worked. We worked with the Black Dog Institute there, and which I don't know I don't think it's government, but they work with their education department, and they did it countrywide, or I guess continent-wide. They went on, we trained, so usually the most that we do in a training is 16 people at a time. We had 2 trainings going on, so we did 32 people then, and that was the second time they'd done it. But they didn't have a lot of English-speaking trainers. And now, because of COVID, they're short of English-speaking trainers again. So this spring, would you be interested, same email, would you be interested in doing a training in Oslo on these dates, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. So, because, they were very short, and now they lost a lot of the different countries and stuff because of COVID and everything shut down, and so a lot of the people that were working for them aren't working there anymore. So Oslo, end of May, first part of June, wonderful, beautiful country. It was just so eye-opening. The people were great. Brown cheese is good. Yeah, it was. What was really nice about the training in Oslo was that we had, well, and actually in Sydney was the same way, is that we had people who lived in the cities, and we had a lot of rural people too, and it was really kind of nice to see. We had one guy in Sydney that drove 2 hours every day one way just to go to this training. What was that important to him? We also had a lady who talked about her husband who was tagging sharks so that the surfers would know when they could look on an app and find out if the shark was there or not. So, but it was great. So I did a training in Oslo in June, went to Dallas and did a training in July, and was in Helena doing a training here in August. And it sounds like we may be doing a training in somewhere in this spring here. So I hope we do. Trainings, they're a lot of work and they're hard for us to get together, but that means that there's other people going to be out there spreading the word, helping kids.